So we kind of talked about some of your more pressing needs and some of the things that are stressing you out right now. You also kind of touched on some of that credit card debt and some other intermediate goals that you have, things like Sarah's braces, right? I want to kind of pivot to talk about your long-term goals. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I think about the long-term goals that you had talked about on your questionnaire, you had talked about things like the non-mortgage debt, things like the personal loan with your family, the vehicle loans, that medical debt that's hanging out there. After you guys pay off some of that credit card debt that we've talked about, that's probably the next priority. How do you feel about some of that debt? Especially, how do you feel about that personal loan with your family?
I mean, I would love to just pay everything off as soon as possible. I wish I did not have to borrow from my family, but I
Yeah.
know that since they're not charging me interest and their family, I have time to pay them back. But I definitely want to pay them back at some point.
Okay. Yeah, I empathize with that. I've had to borrow from family when I was first out of college, and it weighs on you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand. And we've got a plan together inside of that financial analysis for you that we can go over and send to you that talks about how we're going to eliminate that for you. Okay.
Great.
I want to also pivot to another common long-term goal that we all have, retirement. Have you thought at all about retirement?
I mean, collectively between my husband and I, we have like 100,000 in our
Right.
IRAs, but I mean, I don't even know how much you really need to have. Like
Yeah.
my mind is blown. Like I feel like we don't have enough saved.
I totally understand that. And it can feel ambiguous. And it's probably the most common question we get here that is, how much do we need to save? And when can we retire? But let's try this. In thinking about retirement, what does ideal retirement look like to you? So if you were to retire today, what would you be doing? What do you want to be doing?
I want to be able to travel and just live comfortably, not be stressed out about any bills needing to
Okay.
be paid.
So I'm hearing that stress again is something that you don't want to have to deal with in retirement. And since it sounds like earlier when we were talking that some of that stress comes from the debt, we probably don't want to have a lot of debt in retirement then. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel like I need to not have any debt or I'm not going
Okay.
to have any money in retirement. I'm so worried about that.
Yeah. And you said you had about 100,000 in investments. So thinking about investing, how do you feel about investing?
I thought it was great, but I feel like the economy with this inflation, it's just so upside down. Every time I check my Fidelity accounts,
Yeah.
I'm losing money. So I don't even know what to put anything in. I'm
Do you check them often?
daily.
Okay. Yeah, it can certainly be a pull and a habit that we get into to kind of check our investments and our overall bank accounts and everything that goes into our entire financial picture and check them often. I would encourage not to do that just because although it feels like we're keeping up on our investments, it can increase the stress. I do it, other people do it. It's very common. I would just try not to, just so we can bring the stress levels down and just focus on hitting some of those goals and habits that we've been talking about today. Okay. I would also encourage maybe after this and probably within the next few years as we get that debt paid down to work with a financial planner who can put together a retirement analysis for you. So once we've got more room to invest from having less debt to pay, maybe we can talk about what that number looks like for you to retire. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay,
I,
cool.
I feel a little bit better about things now.
Awesome. Last thing I wanted to touch on here before we end the meeting here is we're looking for some summer income ideas to generate.
Yeah, I
I've
love
come up with a couple. And teaching, I think, during the summer classes, I think tutoring potentially, and maybe some content creation. So something like a blog or a YouTube video that touches on maybe being a new teacher or a topic you're interested in. Does any of that appeal to you?
that does. I wasn't even thinking about that, but I
Okay.
would definitely be doing summer school teaching. I'm
Okay.
just so used to being like you're a teacher, so you're out for this.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe we can explore that in another meeting then.
Yeah, that sounds good. I
Okay.
haven't really blogged, so maybe you could give me some tips on that.
Maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can talk about it. Just to wrap up, we talked about the most pressing needs, some intermediary needs, and some of these long-term goals. Did we miss anything?
Nope, I think we covered everything.
Okay. Well, that was great meeting today, and I can't wait for our next meeting.
Okay, thanks. See you then.
No problem.